What is the latest then on the president's thinking, Joumanna? This time yesterday, we were waiting to hear from the US about Iran's latest offer. Has much changed since then?
Yeah, well, Anna, let's review what we think was in the Iranian counterproposal per Iranian state media. And of course, yesterday we were reporting on that, and it involves a mutual lifting of the blockades that are around the Strait of Hormuz right now. So not just Iran lifting their blockade, but the U.S. as well lifting theirs in turn. Iran also asking for war reparations and guarantees that the U.S. are not going to strike again. But crucially here, a deferral of negotiations around the nuclear file. Now, yesterday, the White House press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that the U.S. are now sitting, reviewing what the Iranians have proposed. But she also said the president has made it clear what his red lines are. And from what we understand and what we gather from the course of this war, some of the red lines include Iran wanting to establish a new protocol around the strait, perhaps introducing a toll booth. That is something that would be a non-starter, not just for the U.S., but for many nations, especially those around the Gulf. War guarantees, difficult in reality to implement, especially if you think about U.S. applying pressure on Israel to restrain Israel should they want to go down the war path again. And then the final point is the deferral of this nuclear file. And if they do that, it's also, in effect, a recognition that the war itself has not been successful, because the very purpose of the war was to stop Iran from going on to developing a nuclear weapon. So unclear at this point where the U.S. stands on this, but they have said that they are reviewing the proposal. What I will say, really interesting comments coming through from the German Chancellor overnight. And I think perhaps maybe he was not aware that he was being filmed, but it's a reflection of how many leaders around the world are beginning to feel, especially around the Strait of Hormuz, as we keep seeing these oil prices take higher and higher. We've got Brent sitting at $110. A real question here about what is actually being done to lift the mutual blockades and return shipping back to normal again. And at the same time, what the U.S.'s actual exit strategy here is. And it's been unclear from all of the mixed messaging that has come from the White House over the past couple of weeks what exactly that exit strategy looks like. At the same time, the Iranians are very inclined to keep dragging out these negotiations for as long as possible, because they know that they continue to inflict pain, not just on the Gulf region, but on the global economy via their energy channels.